Every growing business eventually runs into the same wall. Delegation without systems creates bottlenecks, and systemization without delegation creates rigidity. Both will stall your growth. That's why real growth requires a framework, one that blends people and process into a structure that can truly scale. In today's episode, I'll show you how top CEOs design that growth using a simple framework and how you can apply it inside your own business. Welcome to the Strategic Briefing, where we take a deep look at the critical issues facing business owners and uncover the moves that top CEOs use to scale with confidence. This series is about helping you see beyond the surface problems and get to the real leverage that drives growth. So let's start with delegation. For many business owners, delegation feels like the first step toward freedom. You hand it off, you get it off your plate, and you move faster. But the reality is a little bit different. Delegation without systems is basically task pushing. Instead of real freedom, you get endless approvals, work that bounces back needing corrections, and a new bottleneck, the owner stuck in follow-ups and double checks. Now, this is the common nightmare. Tasks get delegated, but the owner is still chained to the outcomes. Delegation without systems doesn't multiply capacity, it multiplies chaos. On the other side, you have systemization. Now, some leaders think if we just document everything, the business can run itself. But here's the trap. Documentation does not include ownership. Without delegation, systems are just binders on a shelf or files in a folder. They create rigidity without adaptability. And so the operator ends up inheriting chaos disguised as order. The owner ends up paying overhead for processes no one truly owns. And frustration builds because the system didn't solve the problem. Systems alone don't create accountability. They just create paperwork. So what actually works? Well, top performing companies don't see delegation and systemization as separate levers. They see them as a framework for growth. Delegation becomes assigning ownership of outcomes, whereas systemization creates clarity, repeatability, and measurability. Together, they form a structure where people own the results and not just tasks. Systems support the consistency, but not rigidity. And the business can scale without the bottlenecks that would normally occur. Think of delegation as the walls of a building and systemization as the foundation. Now, walls collapse without a foundation, and a foundation without walls is just a concrete slab. But together, you have an architecture that can stand, adapt, and grow. But there's one more layer that makes the architecture complete: feedback loops. Here's why. Delegation gives the ownerships that you want, and systemization creates the repeatability that will help you scale. But without feedback, both of these are eventually going to drift off course. Feedback loops tie people and systems together. They answer the question, is this working the way we intended? And how can we make it better? See, when feedback is built in, owners don't need to micromanage. Operators can adapt systems instead of being trapped by them, and the business as a whole becomes adaptive. It gets stronger the more it's used. That's the difference between a static structure and a living framework. So here's a quick drill to test whether what you're doing is real delegation or just task pushing. Pick 3 areas that you've delegated, and for each area, ask yourself 4 questions. Does the person I assigned have clarity on the outcome? Do they have the authority to make decisions? Is there a system backing them up so that results are repeatable? And is there a feedback loop that ensures adaptation over time? Now, if any of those answers is no, then you haven't delegated, you just passed down a task. You really want to include all four of those to make a full and complete system as a framework that you can rely on. Real growth isn't about people alone or systems alone. It's about building the framework where delegation, systemization, and feedback reinforce each other. That's how you scale with confidence without becoming the bottleneck or drowning in documentation. Now, if you'd like to explore what this could look like in your own business, I've created a quick form you can fill out. Links in the description. It only takes a few minutes, but it'll give me enough context to help you map out your next best step toward growing your business. From there, we can look at how people, systems, and feedback can fit together into a growth model that leverages scale. This has been your strategic briefing for the week of September 20th, 2025. I'm Randy Bridges. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you back here next week.